Okay, hi. So, this is your Angel 7 Rachel. Um, I'm just sort of going to take some courage and try to get through this and actually upload it. So, yeah, out of my comfort zone. Um, why would I privatize video to you saying all these other things? Because I don't feel I can say them either on my channel or not wanting to face the backlash of different people who aren't my subscribers or yours, just attacking me and saying things like that I'm being anti-Semitic, which is so absurd. It would hurt if it were true. Um, so I'm just gonna have to block those people or block it out of my mind, because a lot of the things that I would be or want to be saying would just be absolutely by Jews viewed as heretical. Um, so, that's kind of a position that I'm accustomed to being in anyways, because of being a Jew and then growing up and becoming a Baha'i. Yeah, I've already, yeah, like, as far as they're concerned, some of them, but not all of them. So, yeah, I did go to Hillel Torah. That I did live in Skokie. I even have a video about what it was like growing up there and what happened when the neo-Nazis tried to march. And so, that was very conservative Orthodox kind of training. And then in my home, it was different because, I mean, my mom just had a very different way of expressing Judaism, and it wasn't Mosaic and it wasn't Talmudic. It was just beyond that, and I can possibly do a video about that sometime, but I've been kind of avoiding it, so I don't know. And it wasn't like she was the only one, like my grandfather used to cook hams and stuff. There's lots of things about us that as Jews you would think would not be Jewish at all, like not circumcising the kids. No one even said boo to me about it or asked, anything about it on my side of the family, because they knew that I would never, ever, ever, ever do that. Which kind of leads me into Abraham. So, okay, that one where you wrote about the descriptions as far as within the Torah and how the story got put together and which is listed first and that kind of thing. I did mention to you that I think a lot of the way that the skins were tied together of that part of that Torah has to do with appeasing or satisfying his wives, his several wives. So I can totally think of or understand that each wife would want to think that it was their child who was the most important or what have you. That to write it from what would be their perspective as the most important, and that it would be their progeny who would be the most remembered or the most revered, just seems quite logical to me. But I also think a lot of the documentary hypothesis has to do with putting things in there, like you have mentioned, that are what you're not supposed to do, as an example, particularly, or that some of it is meant to throw a person off, actually, if we're talking in a code that somebody doesn't understand. And I'm sort of referencing Bible code, but I'm more talking about gematria and some other things, so I don't know if I need to explain that more, but that's part of it. So back to Abraham and the circumcision thing. Well, you know how nothing comes, people don't live in a vacuum, so everything that was going around where he lived, like I really look at the religions that were around him before, and I can see how he would come to the idea or know or listen, because he's a prophet, that yeah, he's supposed to circumcise himself and his children and even the slaves. Anyways, because that involves the slicing, and when you sacrifice an animal, even there's a slice. It's because of that I don't believe any of the kids, any of his sons were actually murdered, but and part of that has to do with the way that Sarah responded when he came home and explained all of this. I mean, it's kind of the equivalent to in modern times, a man would come home and say, he'd done something and his wife would go, "What? You've got to be kidding me." Anyhow, so that kind of stuff, a lot of it is thought to be considered by Jews like very choice information that you wouldn't want to ever tell somebody who is a non-Jew, but I just have always thought that that was nothing less than ridiculous, because, you know, anytime you have any kind of isolated group, the more, the less information that's infiltrated between groups, just it's going to cause animosity, and so, you know, I don't care that I'm telling you, and I don't think that you care. So, but even within that, there's things that, you know, certain women have taught me of Kabbalah, that if they told me, you know, that if I would ever tell, you know, not only an, an a man Jew, but even a non-Jew, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, verboten, right? Which I don't buy that. But I usually don't tend to talk about it because, well, on my channel I just talk about health and stuff, so I'm not used to talking about this, and it's incredibly, like, personal, and, you know, things that I usually don't voice at all, because most of the time I'm just not accustomed to people caring or understanding or even being interested in, you know, the different ways that obviously we come to a lot of the same conclusions, just have different ways to arrive there. So what's the difference, how the way you got there, or the way that you appreciate something? It's the fact that you do that's really more important, and acknowledging, you know, how someone else enjoys something is just as valid. You know, like if you're standing in front of some beautiful art and someone says it's this and someone says it's that, you don't argue with them. You say, oh, that's beautiful that you see it that way. And I think of things in religion the same way. So I guess that's just old tapes I need to get rid of. I don't know. Another one was, okay, to even say her name, Theotokos. So when you show that icon, and explained how the different parts of the art was used to represent certain things, well, I just thought that was so incredibly beautiful. And then I had mentioned to you at another time that there was this icon that kept popping in my head, and that was the one that it was. Well, like, I can't get it out of my head. Like, when I do yoga, it's right there. Anyhow, so I thought it was fascinating that when you described the last portion of it, which you said, you mentioned the red string, and that was meant to represent menstrual blood. To me, actually, through my Jewish eyes, what I would think of that as is a nod to Rachel. She's the only person to whom intercessory prayer is ascribed to in Judaism, and I'm sure that you've heard that, you know, there is no intercessory prayer in Judaism, but that's false. And I've talked about it with rabbis, so it's not like it's a total secret. But when the Jews were going through the Red Sea, and right before it happened, Miriam said a prayer, and who she called on and who showed there was Rachel, and it was through part of those prayers that it's believed that the sea split. Well, because of that, because she has the capacity for intercessory prayer, that's one of the reasons why people will take a red string, wrap it around her burial area, and make prayers. And then if you take those prayers as a meditation for yourself, and I'm sure everybody's seen the red string before that people put on their wrist, that it's something that you do as a meditation to prevent yourself from thinking negative thoughts of other people, and to prevent people from thinking negative thoughts to you. The quick description people say is to keep away the evil eye. And okay, there's a cultural tradition for that too, but, you know, the deeper Kabbalah reason is actually for that. And so I know that some people think that Miriam is like the literary prototype of understanding that, again, became who Mary is. and I don't know if that's offensive or if you believe it or not or whatever, but I can, you know, even just because it's the same first letter of the name, and because of intercessory prayer being like the focus of that, I think that's just very telling to me. Either that or I'm just seeing a common thread of similarity and just understanding it that way. And it may or may not be true, but that's how I see it. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm too scared to say. And it's always the video that I don't want to make that I end up making. Yeah, I took a hiatus from making videos, and this pulled me out of it. So I didn't block you, I had just privatized it, and I guess that's a technology that when you privatize something that someone can't refer back to it. So this is going to be up and open. I don't know if I'll leave it up past the Halcyon days though, because I don't know if I'll have the guts to do that. But I still have a billion more questions for you. And I'm glad that you told me other people to go to. And yeah, I actually have visited those people's sites. So that's something good. All right. Well, thanks so much for everything. And peace.